Hello again, Warren here with the Peach State Prime Transformers channel. And this video, over the past week or so, we've had a lot of reveals and leaks that have come out, and with official images. So thought I'd just kind of do a roundup of all the news from this last week. There's been some interesting things that have been uncovered. So again, just kind of want to share my thoughts on them. And so let's go ahead and dive right into it. And these cross all sorts of different lines, not crossing lines, but Transformer lines and licenses and all sorts of good stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about is the next addition to the Missing Link line. For those of you not aware, Missing Link is a line put out by Takara Tomy, where they're taking the original G1 Transformer molds and improving them, giving them additional articulation, giving them a better likeness, or even going back and recreating things that were only in the prototype stages during G1 and never saw release, such as RC. So anyways, a lot of people like this line. I've never purchased anything, so I'm kind of indifferent. I like my G1 toys, but I also like my updated molds. So just haven't picked any of these up yet, though they are very cool. This next figure does have some fans divided, and that is Ironhide. Ironhide and by default Ratchet are known to be some of the worst G1 toys released. Not only because they look nothing like the characters in the show outside of their vehicle modes, but because they were just very weak robot modes. Anyway, so as you can see in this image here, Takara Tomy has really upped their game with this one, or really improved. So Ironhide looks a lot closer to how he did in the show, while still retaining his original G1 toy likeness in a sense. If you recall, the back half of the van would detach from the original toy. This actually looks either stay attached or you detach it when transforming and reattach it. That I'm not really sure, but you can see, they gave him a full G1 head, or show accurate head. And then if you look in his chest there in the window, you have that original G1 head, if you could call it that looked through the the window. And you can see kind of down toward the bottom, it looks like there's a mode that you could do in homage to the original toy. The reason this has some fans divided is that there's so much retooling that's gone on. It's not really a G1 toy that's been updated as much as it is almost a new mold. But I like it. I think it looks good, in my opinion. I do think the head does look a little more updated than probably what we would have had back in the 80s for an Ironhide toy, and by default Ratchet, which we know this is going to be Ratchet, so not even going to beat around the bush about that one. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. He does come with a driver, you can see. I don't think anyone would have wanted any sort of update of a true G1 Ironhide. So I think this is probably the best we were going to get. And, I'm sure this will go up for pre-order everywhere fairly soon, since we have these official images from Takara Tomy. But overall, I think this is a pretty good addition to the Missing Link lineup. Also released, announced leaked, whatever, in conjunction with Missing Link Ironhide, has been this repaint of Titan-class Star Convoy from, or Star Optimus Prime, if you want to go that route. His official name now, from Age of the Primes. And that is essentially the Nemesis version of Star Optimus Prime / Star Convoy. I did not pick up Star Optimus Prime. My son has him. I think he looks cool. I may end up getting him eventually. I will say, I think these colors really pop in this Nemesis version. I love it when they do a Nemesis Optimus Prime, or Nemesis Prime rather, that they don't just go with just a simple black repaint. I love it when they, pull in kind of that teal blue color, and then of course the red for the eyes and the windows on the chest. So I think they did a great job. It reminds me a lot of Scourge from Robots in the Skies 2001. Especially the vehicle mode here. I know they're different, but I kind of get those vibes from this. He does come with Legends Class Shockwave from several years ago, repainted as Shock Blast from Energon. I believe it was Transformers Energon. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And that's a nice little pack in there. And I think this is a nice repaint. I'm sure that Hasbro will likely release this. I mean, this seems like a Selects release to me. But, again, I know Takara Tomy is the one that announced it and has the images and are the ones really behind it. So, but again, I could see this easily being something Hasbro not only just offers as kind of an imported item, but jumps on it themselves. Up next is kind of an oddball item, but I'm including it because we've looked at a lot of these figures on the channel, thanks largely in part to my son Landon. And that is a peek at one of the new Cyberworld toys. So we saw previously revealed that we're getting an Optimus Primal Cyberworld toy. Now, what makes this Cyberworld toy interesting of Optimus Primal is that he is a truck. Yes, an Optimus Primal that's not an ape, not a bat, not a T-Rex or any other kind of animal. He's actually a truck. And it looks like, he's kind of an exploration truck with a tow cable in the front. So, okay, he's a kind of a, we'll call him an adventure vehicle. So, I get that. That works for Optimus Primal. This particular figure that we're looking at here is a repaint or redeco of the figure that hasn't come out yet. At least I've never seen it anywhere. If you have, share it in the comments. But this is the Energon Surge variant of the Optimus Primal figure. And you can see he has a lot of clear blue plastic. Kind of reminiscent. We've had other lines where they've done Energon, Power Up, whatever versions. And they always use, kind of that blue, whether it's blue paint or something clear. And of course, they're going with the clear version here. And I see this being really popular with kids. I know some collectors really don't like clear plastic because they think it doesn't last. I think that's a legit concern. However, I think for the intended audience of this toy, this will be a home run. I know my son will want this and the original version probably. And I suspect we're going to get a lot of the toys from Cyberworld redone in this Energon Surge aesthetic. I wouldn't even be surprised if we saw the larger figures, Grimlock and Scorponok, redone like this. One thing that I do find odd about Cyberworld, and this is just an aside, You know, Mirage is a jet, and you know, we see him in the show, and again, it's free on YouTube. Go watch it. And then we've seen toys, you know, kind of teased for him, but I don't think I've ever seen the toy in the store, so I don't know if it ever got released. So, you know, if you collect Cyberworld, leave a comment and let me know if you ever found that. The next figure, or the next reveal we're going to talk about, is probably one of the most interesting ones on this list. And that is a BotCon exclusive. Yes, if you're not aware, BotCon for the last few years is back. It is no longer the quote-unquote official Transformers convention. So, you know, for their exclusives, they've teamed up with different, you know, transforming robot toy vendors like 52 Toys, who does Beast Box. When I went to the first one, when they kind of rebooted BotCon, that's what I got. I think those are cool. They've also teamed up with Yolopark rather, for some exclusive repaints of existing model molds. If you're not aware, Yolopark, kind of like Blockies, but a little bit more simplistic in the builds of their model kits, and they have all sorts of size, you know, size classes out there, but the figures just snap together and they look great. And what they did, I believe, last year and then this year as well, like I said, they're repainting some of the existing molds they have for these models out there into more obscure characters, including, you know, BotCon exclusive characters. The one that they've done now is called Decepticon Avatar Megatron. Now, you know, if you're looking at this, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, that looks like a G2 Megatron. You know, he was a tank, not a gun, and you're absolutely right. For those not in the know, Hasbro did make an attempt to re-release the original Megatron toy back in the early 2000s, and because of toy gun safety laws, they went all out with the funky colors on this, with that bright orange and blue, to try to make Megatron releasable. It still didn't pass the test. So what they did was shelf that toy. However, this Yolopark model actually references that attempt that's kind of become legendary in the fandom. And it's really, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the first Megatron merchandise to carry this color scheme. And, you know, if I'm wrong, again, leave a comment. But, you know, I think for what this represents, it looks great. I mean, does it really look like G1 Megatron? No, but it's not supposed to. It's supposed to look like that, again, that storied attempt at re-releasing G1 Megatron stateside. And, again, I think this is a great thing, and I think it's right at home being a convention exclusive, especially for BotCon. So to round out the list, on this channel, we've reviewed the two existing Hot Wheels collaboration figures. Not the Hot Wheels toys, but the actual Transformers, the transforming toys. And of course, that's Bone Shaker and Twin Mill. You know, I love those toys. You can go back and watch those videos for my reviews. But they've announced 3 new additions to that crossover line. The first one, and I believe I alluded to this during my review of Treadmill, but they are releasing a red variant of Twin Mill. Just like Hot Wheels cars come in pretty much every color, that, you know, their molds. We're seeing that tradition kept alive here with Twin Mill, not Treadmill. And, you know, I think this looks great. From my understanding, from what I've read online, this is going to be a Target exclusive for obvious reasons. The red with the white striping, you know, really does harken to a Target color scheme. I think this looks great. You know, Twin Mill's a fun toy, and again, you can see my thoughts on that. This is just in a different color, but I think the colors really do pop. Um, the next one is a new mold, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce this. I believe it's El Segundo Coupe. I think this looks pretty cool. It's a race car. I love the head design on it. I think that's a classic Transformers head design. And I like the, you know, the race car mode. You know, I'll give some overall thoughts once I talk about the next one as well. But, you know, I think this is, you know, Hot Wheels or not, I think this makes a great Transformer and a great new character. But the other one that was revealed, which is also red, and this is GT Scorcher, which is also a race car with a spoiler. Again, I love the head. I love the, you know, kind of how the car hood becomes the chest. Very indicative of a classic Transformers design. Vehicle mode looks really cool. I love that front bumper. Really looks like a Hot Wheels car, especially with, you know, the Hot Wheels flames on the side. So I think this is a great toy. Now, my overall thoughts on the Hot Wheels releases. So, couple things. Number one, and I went on and on and on about this in the, you know, the review of the original Twin Mill and Bone Shaker. I think if they keep these at the $35 price point, they're overpriced. It's not that they don't look good. They look great. I think this is an awesome way to get new Transformers characters out there that fit the, you know, the aesthetic we're all used to. So that's what I love about this line. The price tag makes absolutely no sense, and I will say this till the day I die. They're charging $35 for figures that are deluxe class size. And we know the price has gone up there. You know, they're between $27 and $30 now. But, you know, most cases, you know, around $27.99. And, you know, usually with these crossovers, the additional cost goes into the license. I don't understand where the license cost comes into this, because Mattel and Hasbro have a deal to make merchandise and crossovers for both of their figures, or both of their IPs. So Mattel's able to make Transformers Hot Wheels, you know, actual die-cast Hot Wheels, and sell them in their main line at their normal price. They're not inflated whatsoever. Even the ones that are just a Transformers line, they're the same price as anything else that's like a specialty Hot Wheel, like the $5 price point versus the $1.20 out there. So I don't get that, because it's an equal trade. Why is Hasbro, they're not paying anymore, at least my understanding, why would they? And then when you look at the NFL line that Hasbro's doing, those are selling for deluxe price at the most $30. And that's the NFL. Probably one of the most expensive licenses out there. And they sell cheaper than these Hot Wheels ones. So it makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. You know, yeah, the decos are good, but the decos are in line with what we're getting in Studio Series and Age of the Prime. So the pricing is off on these. So I really hope when these go up for pre-order and show up in stores that they are selling for the deluxe price point. And honestly, you know, I do say they belong at the deluxe price point. They're really, their size, at least Twin Mill and Bone Shaker, remind me more of in between like a modern mini car, like let's say Swerve that just came out, or the upcoming Cliff Jumper, which they sell for deluxe pricing, but they're a little smaller. And then when you look at something like Sure Shot that came out not long ago, these Hot Wheels crossovers are like in between those two sizes when it comes to deluxes. So honestly, you know, I even think they should be around $25. It ain't gonna happen, but so that's my rant on that. I love these toys. I hate the price, and I don't understand again why, with everything I said, why they have to sell for so much. It doesn't add up with everything else we've seen out there. The only other gripe I have, well, it's technically two in one. So we're getting the Target exclusive twin mill that's red and white. At the same time, probably on the shelf at the same time, we're also getting GT Scorcher. And yeah, they're both different molds altogether, different cars, but they're both red and white. And, you know, Hasbro has talked about this before, that they try to shake it up. It's why we didn't get all the Constructicons in one line for a Studio Series, or, excuse me, in one wave. Because they need to change it up, change up the colors, change up the vehicles. You have two red and white race cars that will be on the shelf next to each other and behind each other. So I don't think that was a good choice as far as differentiating, you know, potential, you know, for parents to buy these for their kids. I think they're going to blend in together. The other thing is, you know, Twin Mill and Bone Shaker are both very iconic, you know, Hot Wheels cars. You look at those vehicle modes, you say, ah, that's a Hot Wheel. Outside of GT Scorcher having Hot Wheels on the side in vehicle mode, these two just look like generic race cars. You know, I can't really say at first, that's a Hot Wheel. It's those kind of funky, you know, futuristic, abstract designs that I think really make this crossover line shine. You know, because, you know, Hasbro could have gone back, taken very similar, you know, non-licensed vehicles, made their own characters that somewhat resemble these, you know, that transform into similar cars. So I can't really say they stand out as, you know, super, you know, Hot Wheels designs. I think they need to stick to, again, those funkier designs. I said this in my reviews. The one that, you know, the Hot Wheel that I think back to my youth that I always played with was this shark one. I think it's called the Shark Cruiser. You know, we need a transformer of that, you know, a crossover or something like that. We need the, and again, I'm being silly here, but when you look at some of the more fun Hot Wheels out there, you have the one that's even a toilet on wheels, I believe. Again, you have all those funky futuristic ones. You have ones that look like bugs, that look like lizards. I think there's even a snake one out there. Monsters. You have one that, I know when I was growing up, it was actually like a robot with a gun laying on its back. Stuff like that is what I think is really going to make this line successful. Whereas you just give us generic race cars, you know, this might as well be a Matchbox crossover, or, again, I don't even know what else. And Matchbox is owned by Mattel, for those that didn't know. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on the Hot Wheels line. I love them. I would have gone with different designs, different releases, different colors, and ultimately different pricing. But the end product, actually having these in hand, has always been a joy with the last two. So, again, I hope they continue this, but I think they need to rethink the pricing strategy in addition to some of the designs to keep it fresh and to keep it going forward. And repaints, that's fine. Like how we're getting the repainted Twin Mill. But, you know, we need some of those more Hot Wheels, You know, those cool Hot Wheels, molds or car designs out there is the better way to put it. All right, so that was a lot to go over. Not sure what else we have waiting for us this week. But that all came out, again, over the course of the last week. So thought I'd take some time to reflect on it. As far as what I plan on getting, I hope to be able to get the 3 other Hot Wheels designs, because I'd love to have the entire series. If you recall from my reviews of the first 2, I did find them at Toylanta for $20 a pop, which was a more than fair price. So hopefully I could get these at some sort of discount or on sale when they come out. So eventually I'd like to get those. Again, I'm sure Landon will end up with that Optimus Primal. Haven't done Missing Link yet, so I don't know about Ironhide quite yet. Maybe. I like that Nemesis Star Convoy or Nemesis Star Prime, whatever you want to call it. I think that's cool. Again, I got to see what the pricing is. Eventually, I do want to get that Yolopark AMK Mini Decepticon Avatar Megatron, because I think that's just cool. I love my funky bright colors, the G2 era. Even though it's not G2, it's not G2, but I love things that would probably pop out. I did my video on black light Transformers, so of course I love things that are bright and fluorescent. But a fun, very varied announcements from different lines. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this. If you haven't heard about all these releases yet, hopefully I educated you. Otherwise, hopefully I gave you some context, at least on my thoughts on them. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like here on YouTube. That helps me out. And of course, feel free to subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for more content like this, reviews, discussions on upcoming releases. And of course, leave a comment. What do you think of these releases here? Anything you're going to get? Do you agree with my analysis of the Hot Wheels crossover line continuing? Feel free to share. And of course, be nice. Not that anyone hasn't been. If you do, like just general fun videos, travel videos, events, attractions, fun places to eat and shop, I do my original channel, which is just known as Peach State Prime here on YouTube, and I invite you to check that out if you need some time to kill. Anyways, again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.